alive. La 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 live. What are we now? Day 16 of 77. It's gifts of the Spirit, yeah? And then next up it's going to be the Beatitudes. I think it's the Beatitudes after this. Wow, it's a bit cold. Hello. So what do we got? Charnay and Meowvis. Meowvis, hello. Hi, Charnay. Are you guys having fun so far? Are you learning stuff every night? 77 days of faith. Can you feel the impact of 10 years of prayer? Or nah? Wow, it's cold. I can't believe it. It's like, I don't know, I think my tracksuit pants might be a bit thin for this adventure out on the prayer path tonight. I think these tracksuit pants are more about looking cool than keeping you warm. Let's see, who we got? There's Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, Mavis says yes, learning every day. Good. Very good. And very nice. Very, very good. And very, very nice. If you're having fun, then I'll sing it twice. Very, very good. Very, very nice. There's the session. The session. Let's see, who's that? Gunther. Gunther. Get to the chopper, Gunther. All right. See, we're up to 20-something viewers, so I guess I should start. Although, what is the time? Yeah, it's 8:02. It's a good idea to start. Once again, I hope you guys can feel the impact of 10 years of prayer when I share these things every night. It's my prayer that this stuff brings meaningful change into your lives. Because, just one right message at the right time can change everything. And tonight, really, about spirit of knowledge. A lot of people are knowledgeable. A lot of people think they operate by the spirit of knowledge. Very few do. It's such a rare gift because it requires such humility. And this is a very cool gift because it saves you from destruction. And you can actually already be en route to destruction. God will pop someone into your life who operates with the gift of knowledge. And boom shakalaka, all you have to do is just listen. And I'm going to tell two very nice Bible stories tonight. One for the boys and one for the girls. One about Mordecai in the Esther story and one about Abigail in the David story. And yeah, see Mrs. Funk has joined us. What up, Mrs. Funk? There's Nathan. Hey. And Kat's like, finally got to join live. Yeah, because it's so fancy pants going to your big fancy pants events. And now you're slumming it with us normies again, hey, Kat? What day is it today? It's day 17? Yeah, day 17 of 77. All right, let's get into it. Share it out if you can. Bring your peeps in. I think it's Sunday today, so a lot of them like, I've had so much church, I don't want some more church, bro. Sunday, I'd only be like 12 church services in one day, bro. Okay. So today we're on the gifts of the Spirit. So what do we know about the gifts? They are given for the common good of all. And a gift can come upon anyone, anywhere, any time, but mostly it's specifically given as a permanent spanner in your toolbox, because God compares it, or Paul the Apostle compares it to, one person's a hand and another person's a head and another person. So, in the proper context, the gifts of the Spirit are, it defines what part of the body of Christ you are. It defines what your job is, what your assignment is, because it's got a lot to do with, the way you feel has a lot. It indicates a lot about, potentially what the gift of the Spirit is. If you don't know what your gift is yet, because you've got to eagerly desire them, and then they kick in. It's something that you got to be, I'd love to have that, and then it would often naturally be there already. You just weren't aware of it because it's been given to you. And the gifts of God are without repentance. He doesn't take gifts away. Because they're such an integral part of who you are, he'd have to lobotomize you to remove your gift, because it's such a sword forging process to make you and that gift one. That's why you'll find that there are people who have not become born again. They're not baptized in the Holy Spirit, none of that yet. There they are with this gift that you see little flashes of, and it only really activates big time, when they become Spirit-filled. But you see, I see flashes of this gift, and you're like, how is it that this person who is basically a pagan or a heathen of some sort, a total unbeliever, how is it that they have more wisdom or more knowledge or are more encouraging than a lot of the people I know who are Spirit-filled? And that's because it's a gift, and it takes a long time to mature that gift, and it has to be cultivated, and it becomes an integral part of who that person is. And if you're a buffoon, then you'll be an exclusivist and a Pharisee, and you'll look down on people because, they're not as holy as you are. And, your nose is in the air, and you're like, well, I am a born-again Christian. There's no sin in my life. La-di-da. And, you look down on people, and God is very fond of hiding your breakthrough in places where pride will not permit you to peak. God is very fond of hiding your breakthroughs in places where your pride will not permit you to peak, because he gives grace to the humble, but he opposes the proud. So he likes to astound people and blow their minds with where he puts his breakthroughs and where he places his gifts. And there are some people walking around who are a walking, living, breathing gift, and you only get to unwrap that gift if you are humble enough to recognize it and not pass judgment on the person, but celebrate the gift that is upon them. Okay, so each gift comes with a particular price, that person has to pay. So you have to recognize the price that people pay. Last night I spoke about the gift of wisdom. The price that you pay for wisdom is much sorrow, a lot of sorrow. You live with sorrow. If you have the gift of wisdom, it's your constant companion. You thus surround yourself with people who are exhorters and encouragers, and then you're able to function, because people who operate by the gift of wisdom are able to flow like a tap with no limit. There's no limit. They can just go on for days and days and days, hours and hours at a time, because heaven flows through them, but with the same fluidity of this practical wisdom that you can receive. They're also constantly bombarded with an understanding of where they are in the world, what the world is like, and the sorrow of it all is overwhelming. That's why it's very difficult to operate with a gift of wisdom. You have to be a little bit loony, crazy. So generally philosophers and people like that tend to be not right in the head all the time. But luckily, God doesn't require the vessel to be pure for the message to flow perfectly. A lot of the Bible was written by cuckoo clocks, and what came out of them was pure and perfect and resonated perfectly with the rest of all the other writings, because people who operate with the gift of wisdom can be trusted to flow with heavenly truth. Now, you would think that people who operate the spirit of knowledge would be something else, right? You'd think that they would be lecturers and stuff like that. No, those are knowledgeable people who have probably higher IQs, or a propensity for academia. They like academic stuff, or for whatever reason they find themselves liking to teach. But that is not the spirit of knowledge. Spirit of knowledge that gift of knowledge cannot rest upon someone unless they are spectacularly humble. You will find that every time you've seen the gift of knowledge at work in the Bible, every time, without fail, it has been in somebody who has the ability to recognize greatness. This is going to blow your mind. Every time the gift of knowledge has been on display, it has been through somebody who sees themselves as a servant. They have no ambition beyond serving. They don't elevate themselves. Sometimes they get elevated, like the case of Mordecai. I'll tell that story in a moment. But if you want to know, do you have the potential to operate by the gift of knowledge? and I'll tell you what it is in a moment. But the first question is, are you obsessed with recognizing greatness and serving it? Or do you want to be the great one that's being served? And if you want to be the great one, then it is impossible for the gift of knowledge to operate through you, because the gift of knowledge is a service. It is a gift of service. It's an offering that is offered from someone who is so humble that they have no desire for any position of power. And the reason for that is because knowledge literally is power. God doesn't share his glory, he doesn't share his throne. And often people who think they're wise think they know better than God. They think they know better than the authority that they're under. They think they know better than the ones God has chosen to rule. They think themselves wise. They think they have knowledge. They like to surround themselves with people who sing their praises because they think they're clever. They read a couple of books that they can quote, and and they regurgitate other people's wisdom, other people's knowledge, but they might have some knowledge, they might be knowledgeable, but they do not operate by the gift of knowledge, because the gift of knowledge is spectacularly powerful. And if you can recognize those who operate by the gift of knowledge, remember, we are destroyed for lack of knowledge, so you can bring lots of knowledge into your life, and that will certainly help you to achieve great things. But people who operate by the gift of knowledge, when you've got one or two of those in your life, they qualify as wise counsel, and they can take you through the right valleys, up the right mountains, and lead you to the promised land. Another one I won't really be discussing, but is worth studying, is Jethro. You'll find him probably in Exodus and a little bit of Deuteronomy, if I recall. But I'm going to talk about two more famous people who operated by the gift of knowledge in the Old Testament. And we'll start with Esther, the book of Esther, the story of Esther, and the guy in her life, the mentor, the father figure, whose name was Mordecai. So for those of you who are not familiar with the story of Esther, there was a Persian king who was prone to parties and showing off and stuff like that. I think he was one of the Xerxeses, if I remember, like from Sparta, 300, the movie 300, one of those Xerxes type dudes. But this dude was a very egotistical king who liked to make harsh decrees, especially when he'd had a couple of toots in. And one night he's showing off, and he calls for his wife Vashti, who he's very proud of. He wants her to come and show off how hot she is in front of his friends. And she says, "Nah, I'm not doing that." So, you can choose your stance on whether you're, what's the word I'm looking for here? A suffragette, of what's the womanist movements and stuff. You can choose if you're a strong, independent woman and nobody tells you what to do. You can take her side, but whatever your side is there, She ended up, number one, being divorced from the most influential position in the nation, which was wife of the king, queen of Persia, basically. And number two, it irritated her very brash husband so much that he passed a law in the country that every man had to be the lord of his house. So in one move, all she had to do was walk out there, show off a bit, say, yes, I'm his, because that's all the egotistical fool needed. And instead she was all uppity about it with her, I guess it's her form of pride, or maybe she thought she was being pure, or whatever it was. But she ended up making life difficult for every single wife in the entire nation, because the drunken buffoon passed a law, said every man must now show he is the man of the house, he is the god of his household. And then he divorced her, and his way of looking for a new wife was to have a beauty pageant. He said, okay, we're going to have a national beauty pageant, and he wants to choose the most gorgeous woman in the nation as his next wife. And he wants a woman who's not afraid to represent him and show off for him when he needs it, because obviously the dude has some ego problems. So there's this young, pretty Jewish girl, one of the few in all of Persia, in a small Jewish community. Her name's Hadassah, but we call her Esther in the Bible. And Esther, it's a very nice movie to watch, is One Night with the King. Very cool movie. And they hold this beauty pageant. Mordecai is her uncle and mentor. It's like a father figure. And he says, listen, Esther, if you can pull this off, you can be in a position of incredible influence for the Jewish nation. And so his immediate first, that's a gift of knowledge, kicks in immediately. He says, listen, you can be a breakthrough for the nation. Take one for the team. Now, usually that is the spirit of knowledge going to tell you to take one for the team. That's a very typical spirit of knowledge move there, because it never thinks of itself. It never asks you to think for yourself. It always says, I want to promote you to a position of power, and I want your position of power to be for others. And so Esther goes for it, and she, through Mordecai's counsel, generates favor with the chief eunuch, the dude in charge of all the applicants and contestants. And that guy gives her counsel, and she ends up winning the heart of this egotistical king of Persia dude. And and there she is, a Jew. Now, he doesn't know she's a Jew. He just knows this beautiful woman is also humble and wise. And you know she's wise because she took wise counsel from Mordecai. Anyway, so a lot of stuff happens. The book of Esther is a lot of fun to read if you ever want to do it. Because it's a story of how God takes every situation, turns it around, and you'll find that God's never mentioned in the book of Esther. So you see a lot of wisdom and the spirit of knowledge in action. The gift of knowledge there in action, without a lot of churchianity or churchin language speak and stuff like that. You'll see how pragmatic the spirit of knowledge and how wisdom, when it's in full operation, can turn around anything. So there's this other bad guy. I think his name was Haman, Hama, in Haman or Haman. and dodgy dude, constantly trying to promote himself by pulling down others, destroying the lives of others. And he sets his target on the Jews. But there's a problem. Old Haman, he operates by that gift of knowledge at such a level that he just constantly knows what wise counsel to give. Because the gift of knowledge is relevant information for now. It's not fake news. It's not vague news. It's not, things that leave you wondering what you should do next. The gift of knowledge is relevant information for now, this exact moment that you're in. And so Mordecai overhears two soldiers. I imagine they were loyal to Vashti or part of Haman's clique or whatever it is. And they're talking about taking out, murdering the king of Persia. And so Mordecai gets word to the king and says, however it's communicated, the king's life is spared. So now that's an incredible thing to do, because a gift of knowledge is going to tell you when to save the life of your enemies, when to save the life of evil kings, because it understands the strategic importance of that relevant information in the now. That's why you want people like that around you, because they give you that input in the moment, in the now. They give you that information when it is strategically advantageous, and you don't have to worry about when or if this information can be relevant, because you just look around. Right now is the time to apply that counsel. Right, so king's life is spared, and it's written down somewhere, and Haman keeps on with his plotting and stuff, and he wants to take out the Jews, but he's not pleased with Haman. He bumps into Haman the one day, into Mordecai the one day, and he just like loses his mind. He gets angry, and he's like, no, he's gonna get this guy put on a stake. Not a piece of meat, a piece of sharpened wood. And he has some dudes put up a stake in the middle of a visible area, and he's keen. Now tomorrow he's going to have Mordecai impaled on that stake, and that same night I now have to remember all this stuff, but I always just trust that the spirit of wisdom just gets the stuff right. I just jabber. And so I believe the king he can't sleep, and he needs a bedtime story. So he gets some of his dudes to read some of his decrees and his updates. And in there, they read that Mordecai is the name of the dude who saved his life, and that guy's to be honored. And the king's like, oh yeah, Mordecai, yeah. So the next morning, here comes Haman, all excited. He wants to, because he's the closest advisor to the king, and he's like, he wants to broach the subject of this guy that he wants crucified, or staked, Mordecai. But before he can bring it up, the king is like, listen, there's this guy, Mordecai, saved my life. I want you as my chief advisor to go lead him around, go walk in front of the donkey, put him on a donkey, and tell everybody, honor this man, he saved the life of the king. So See, so that gift of knowledge, to instead of letting the king get killed, even though he's an evil, moronic, boozing warmonger of a Persian king, Mordecai, knowing that he should save his life, produces honor upon him, and he gets led around awkwardly there on a donkey all around the capital with the guy who wants him murdered singing his praises, right? Okay, so now this evil dude Haman or Haman, he's not done. He really is now super incensed. Mordecai is a Jew, Esther's a Jew, and he's like, what he's going to do is he's going to incense the king when the king's a bit drunk to declare a day where the Jews are all going to have to be killed because he is God. You know, so that's Haman. He says, well, you are a God king. These guys serve a God that is not you. So we should declare that anybody who doesn't serve you or worship you as God has to die on this particular day. And now, you know, that decree gets made, and then Mordecai meets with Esther and says, listen, you're in an awesome position. You're the queen, a very powerful and influential position to save your people. I suggest that you use your influence and save your people. This is why you are the queen for this, you know, such a time as this. Spirit, a gift of knowledge. You know, so the spirit of knowledge is the one who hands out that particular gift, and now he has this gift of knowledge to know exactly what Esther must do, because the gift of knowledge is very humble. It says, I am serving Esther for the sake of the people of Israel. It doesn't seek to promote Esther, and it doesn't seek to promote Mordecai. It is there to serve God, to serve people, to serve community. It is a very humble, the gift is given to very humble people. So Esther goes, and she asks to make a very nice dinner for Haman and King Xerxes and Haman, so that Haman can't run interference. And then after a while, you know, the dinner goes on, and I imagine Haman gets the message that the king wants to be alone with his woman now. And off Haman goes, and Esther is looking a bit sad. So the king is like, listen, you made this incredible meal for me. You are so beautiful tonight. You know, that's how men work. You know, we can be in the worst place emotionally. We can be irritated, all that kind of thing. If our woman comes in looking beautiful, our brain just goes, va voom. What can I do for you? I'll give you my whole kingdom, baby. And Mordecai knows this. Esther doesn't really, because she's a very humble Jewish girl raised to honor her husband. And she says, I'm sad because you're going to put me to death on this particular day. And Xerxes is mortified. I am not going to put you to death. And she says, well, I'm a Jew. And Haman came to you with this decree that you've now signed off on. And Mordecai, the guy who saved your life, he's a Jew. And you're going to have us both put to death because we serve a God, you know, that teaches us to do these things. And so Xerxes is like, well, I can't undecree my decree, so I'll tell you what, let's make a new decree that all the Jews can defend themselves against anybody who attacks them on that day. So on that day, people who think I'm not a god, they can be put to death by the public, and the public can take whatever's theirs, but Jews are allowed to defend themselves. So that decree gets passed, and all the men, the young men, the Jews, they're ready for that day, and anybody who attacks them, they kill them all and they take all their stuff. So the spirit of knowledge, and obviously in the end Haman gets impaled on the same stake that he made for Mordecai. So that gift of knowledge, it turns everything around every time. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is, because decrees couldn't be undecreed, But Mordecai was able to counsel Esther at every step to produce every inch of favor every step of the way. And it benefited an entire race of people, her whole community, her whole nation that was in Persia at the time. So the gift of knowledge, like the gift of wisdom, is for the common good of all. They're corporate gifts for the body of Christ. When you're exposed to them, it does something incredible through you for your whole community. So whatever community you're in, if that community is struggling and you live for that community, someone with a gift of knowledge can just tell you, well, just do this. And because you're so humble, you'll listen. And, Esther, when she received the counsel to tell her husband that she's a Jew, her response was, if I die, I die. And that is generally the attitude of people who receive that gift, people who receive the gift of knowledge. If they receive the person who is full of the gift of knowledge, they are there for the sake of an entire nation. And the gift of knowledge is really upon people who know this. They know that you are there for a whole community, a whole nation, a whole people. And so they're exceptional human beings who bring relevant information